Hi, this is Angela Alexander, Brown Angel Books and Coaching. I hope all is well with you today. I am going live on two platforms today. And there we go. I am Angela Alexander, Brown Angel Books and Coaching. Thank you for joining. And before I start, I wanted to let you know that we are currently scheduling for live workshops. So if you've enjoyed these weekly podcasts, which I hope that you have, many of you have responded. You've said that the SPEAK acronym has been helpful to you. SPEAK is from an ebook that I created a couple of months ago. The acronym stands for Seen, Heard, and Valued. P, promote positivity, which is what we're talking about today. E, executing the steps. A, affirm and appreciate. And K, key takeaways. And so these Tuesday supports, parent supports, are basically from little nuggets from that ebook. If you would like to have me live at one of your events or like to sponsor an event and have me there, simply send an email to brownangelbc@gmail, and we will get back with you and let you know if we're able to help you. So today, as I mentioned before, is called Promote Positivity. And of course, promoting positivity, of course, is important, right? So I don't know if any of you have seen this show. It's Damon Wayans and his son Damon Jr. So Damon Jr. and his dad, they have this show and it comes on. It's called Papa's House, and it comes on Mondays, right? And so they had one about a week or so ago. And in this particular episode, Damon Jr. has a son. He has a young son and a young daughter. But in this particular show, the young son is having some behavior issues, right? He's being very disrespectful. And so Damon Sr. sees this behavior and decides he's going to give his son some advice, right? And so this advice was, you need to threaten him and tell him, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. And so, which reminded me of old school Cosby show, right? If any of us have seen that. And so Damon Jr. says to his dad, I wanted to do something different. And so you see Damon Jr.'s relationship with his son. He's being really playful. He's being very passive. And you don't see him addressing the son's behavior, right? And so Damon Sr. still keeps trying to, tell his son what he needs to do. And then Damon Jr. says, Dad, I don't want to do that because when I was growing up, I found myself becoming very resentful of you. And Damon Sr. is like, wait a minute, you resented me? He said, yeah, it was like boot camp. I never could talk to you. It was always, I always felt threatened by you. And they, of course, had, they lived, he and his mom lived in separate households. Like the mom and dad were divorced. And so Damon Jr. was like, I resented much of the way you tried to correct me when I was growing up. Okay, so the show goes on, and the last scene of the show, they're at dinner. Damon Jr. and his wife and their kids are at dinner. And so the little guy, he's being very disrespectful to his mother, right? And I can't remember what the disparaging comment was that he made, but Damon Sr. is like, you will not talk to your mother that way. I brought you in this world. I will take you out. Go to your room, right? And so the son is looking and he's wide-eyed. And, the wife is like, thank you for taking up for me. And he was like, yeah, that felt kind of good. And so the show gives you the impression that this is how that behavior should be addressed. And it did not correct the issue. And so many of us, we probably grew up with the same thing, that someone yelled at you, like you did something or you said something, and there was a stern, you do not do that. I'm going to beat you or go to your room, or whatever the emotion was that your parent gave. But what did not happen here is that there was no teaching moment in this scene. Sure, you don't talk to your mother that way, and you don't. I think that what happens a lot of times is that when we talk about correction that does not necessarily include pain, that you are under the impression that it includes passivity, which it doesn't. The Bible talks about let your yes be yes and your no mean no. And so in this instance, it is more than likely that Damon had not talked to his 6-year old about what is the proper way to talk to your mother, what is the proper way to express disagreement. And this is not appropriate. So to call your mother stupid or say shut up or something like that, it's just not appropriate. So we don't do that, son, right? You owe your mother an apology. And this is what you need to say instead. That's a correction. So a correction is this is what you did. This is what you don't do. This is what you need to do. And so if what you're saying does not give a clear, this is what you did and this is what you need to do so that it is duplicatable, then all you did was like with Damon, he shot the kid, shamed the kid, get out of my sight because you messed up. That's not how you correct. And so in one of the scenes, and this one scene really got me. So my husband and I, we were talking about this, that Damon was talking to his son. And he said, well, son, you were with your mom and I had to prepare you for the real world to be a man. And that may well be so. But the thing that is really bothering me, because I've heard that saying so many times, is that I'm trying to toughen them up so they'll be ready for the real world, is that let me ask you this. If you're on a job, is it productive for your person that you work for or the person that you support to say, get over there and get it done? I mean, get it done right now. You did not staple that. You did not give me my message. You did not do that. Would that be an effective way to communicate with you? And it's very likely that the answer is no. Well, you say, well, Angela, I'm not talking to another adult. I'm talking to a child. Well, a person's spirit doesn't have an age. It doesn't have an age to it. And so if emotion does not have an age to it. And so if that would not be the most beneficial way to give you information, what then makes you think it is the beneficial way to give them the information? If you're learning something for the first time or being introduced to something, is someone being harsh with you the way that you would get the information, that the information would stick? And it's very likely that the answer is no. So then, when we say we are preparing our kid for the real world is going to give you the information and you're going to need to do it. And you're going to need to hear it, duplicate it without threat. Because again, if I'm at my job and you're threatening me, then more than likely I'm not going to want to be at that job. I should not feel threatened. And so if it is our habit to say, do this or this will happen, get up there, do this, or I'm going to, I brought you in this world, I take you out, or else. It's always an or else, or I'm not serious. I'm serious when my voice is elevated. Then you're training them that it's not serious unless the voice is elevated. It's not serious unless there's a threat associated with it. So what I'm challenging us as parents to do is, first of all, learn how to talk. Let them get accustomed to hearing conversational tones with you. Conversational tones are not loud and they're not passive. Okay, Junior, because anybody that you're talking to in a passive tone, they're going to know it's a passive tone and it's not genuine. Let the people in your life get used to hearing you in conversational tone. And so if it is that I need you to pick the dishes up, then I need you to pick the dishes up when you finish eating. That I can tell you, go do that. Pick the dishes up when you finish eating. And I don't have to threaten you to do that. When you train someone to get used to being threatened, then when other people are talking to them and they're communicating with your child or your spouse or whomever it is, and this is what they're conditioned to hearing, it's what you train them to hear. And same with us. Many of us, that's how we were trained. And so that's the way we are training. And it's not effective. And we're wondering why we're not getting the results that we want to get from our children because you're training them. So, what I want to do is encourage you to retrain you so that you can retrain them. Um, One of the things that I saw, I was looking at the statistics for this. You know, even when we talk about yelling and we talk about hitting, which is what I talk about a lot. One of the things that Nadine Burke Harris, who was rather the Surgeon General for California, she said, if you were walking and you saw a bear, right, you would either try to run from the bear, fight the bear, or just be still, right? You would either try to run, that's fight, flight, or freeze. And then she said, what happens if you live with the bear? And with many of us, the way we communicate is almost like the people in our life are living with the bear. They don't know when something's going to just set you off. It's just going to be on. It's just like that. It's like living with the bear. And cortisol is flying. And so it made me look up some statistics today. So according to the CDC, Center of Disease and Control, 2021 statistics. When we have a pattern of yelling, and this is not like every now and then, something bothers you or you're trying to get their attention, get out of the road or whatever, something like that. That's one thing. But when you have a habit, this is just how you all get down at home or how you're talking to your spouse or how you're talking to your children, especially if it's how you talk to your spouse, because they're seeing that and they're seeing it as normalized behavior and they're going to duplicate it, right? And so 1 in 7 children, that was the ages from 3 to 17, 1 in 7, they have mental or behavioral conditions. They're dealing with a mental or behavioral condition, which includes anxiety, depression, or some type of behavior disorder. 1 in 7. I oftentimes talk about the statistic about the 1 in 4, about how 1 in 4 children, 4 children, one of them is dealing with depression. And some of them have already made a plan about how they want to end their life. You're talking about 3 to 17. This is the age when they are typically at home. This is the age when your voice is what they're hearing every day. And so it's like, but they're yelling back. Are they yelling back because they want to be heard? They want to be seen? They want to be valued by you? That they can't be heard because your voice is the only thing that's being heard. And so just like if you're talking with your partner and I'm trying to get my point across, they're trying to get their point across, and it's this match going on, it's the same type of temperament that if they can't be heard by you, they're trying to be heard. So I want to encourage us sometimes to just pull back a little bit and actually see what's happening. Because many of us don't know our children. We don't know the people who live in our house. And the only voice that's heard is yours. If you want an opinion, I'm going to give you the opinion. Take a minute to learn the people that are in your house, especially if you want to be able to speak into their life. And I don't know any parent who wants to be the parent of the 1 that's part of the 4, or the 1 that's part of the 7 that has mental issues, anxiety, or behavioral issues. But if we're not taking the time to actually listen and pull back a little bit to know what the needs are that are in our household, that all they hear is your mouth and you're not listening to learn, You're listening to get your opinion across because you're right and the rest of the world is wrong. And you might be right, but you can't speak into anybody's life if they can't ever talk. And allowing somebody to talk does not mean that you necessarily agree. But every now and then, reflect back what you're hearing. Hey, I want to make sure I understood what you were saying, because it lets that person know that you actually heard them, and it doesn't feel really natural to reflect that, but it lets them know that you heard them, and it puts emotional currency in there for you. And the more you do this, the more you just kind of pull back a little bit and listen, the more they know that you're a safe place that they can talk, that you're a place that you're safe. That's emotional currency. So when you have to deal with the tough things, you've got some credit in the bank. Just like if you go to the bank now and there's no money in there, you're not going to be able to pull anything out because you spent it all. But it's the same way emotionally. If they're continuing to take from us, you're not listening, you're accusing, you're yelling, and they're stomping. You're seeing them react, and you don't know why they're reacting. Their behavior is an indication of an unmet need. And if a person keeps taking, and they keep taking, and they keep taking, eventually they're either going to run from you just like the bear. You're either going to fight that bear with your mouth or with your hands. I'm going to flight. You see me stomping up the stairs. I don't want to talk to you. Or freeze. And a number of us have seen that with the kids. Like, I'm just going to sit here because nothing that I say or do matters. And if that's not what we want, then we need to put some more currency in the bank. I hope that makes sense, because I've seen it in my own life. I've seen when I've gotten it very, very wrong. And I've seen where when I took a minute to listen and reflect back and to make sure I got it, to make sure they felt like what they said actually made a difference to me, even if I didn't agree. And so I may not want you to do this, son. I hear you. Let's not do this, but this is what you can do. And so now that whatever is in them doesn't feel so pushed down and deflated, that they actually have a voice and that they actually matter. I was watching this video, and there's a lady in our area that she used to be one of our anchor people, and now she is an influencer on different social networks, right? And she and her husband's name is Robert. So they have this 3-year-old, and the 3-year-old is in their closet, right? And so the person who did the video, her name is Jeanette. So she did the video. She said, "You know whose name has been called a lot around here." And so you see the little 3-year-old, and she's standing in the closet, and she's looking up, and she said, "Where's Robert? Robert, Robert, Robert." And so she's, Jeanette is recording it, and she kind of chuckles, and the little girl sees, and the little girl is clearly imitating her mother. She's seen her mother look in the closet, need to reach something, and calling Robert instead of, the little girl saying daddy. She said, "Robert." And it was funny, right? But sometimes what we don't realize is that our children, they reflect us. Whether that reflection is as cute as the little girl was, or "Look here, Robert, you ain't gonna do this." They see it. Your behavior is what they consider normal. If you're cussing a mile a minute like you're speaking in tongues, that's their normal. And if that's not what you want to see, don't show them that. And so when I'm doing these parent supports, what I'm encouraging us to do is check ourselves, because there's another generation here. And if this is not the behavior that you want to see in your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, then we need to adjust and let our children see something else. So My takeaway for you today is I want us to practice not jumping in immediately to be heard. Practice letting them get it out. And if depending on the type of conversation it is, if it is one of those conversations where it's a conflict, let them get it out and then reflect it back what you heard them say. See if you can do that. It's not going to feel natural at first. It's just not. But it will let them feel heard. And the more you let people feel heard, the more they will want to share with you. It actually works. Ask me how I know. I mean, and not meaning to cut people off, but I mean, I noticed that when I have been intentional, like my brain is going and my mouth is going, and I just hold it for a second. And now I'm noticing that people are like people in my family, friends, you learn a whole lot more when the Bible tells you to be slow to speak. Shut your mouth sometimes. You can learn a lot more when you're slow to speak. See if they will open up to you more, and they will. And see if you can identify what the unmet need is. Because if someone is having a behavior, it is typically an indication of an unmet need. Look at your own life. If someone has spoken to you in a way that was unsavory, there may be some energy there. There may be some attitude there. It's the same thing. A spirit does not have an age. Emotions do not have age. It's just in an age person, different ages. When you build trust and connection, you will help the people in your life want to express themselves. I've said that to you. They will want to express themselves to you more. And think about how effective tone is. Um, when someone is communicating with you, if their tone is off, they could be saying something, or like the dad that I saw on on Instagram, the dad had a nice tone, but what he was saying was crazy. He took the door off the child's took the door off his room. And he was like, "Well, son, I'm taking the door off your room because you stomped up the stairs and you didn't do your homework, and so you lose your door." And people are saying, "Good job, Dad," but the dad did not solve not one problem. We still don't know what's wrong with the child. He did not take that opportunity when the child says, "Dad, where are you going with my door?" to connect with the child. Son, you haven't done your homework, and we saw you stumping. What's going on? Because he had an opening there. When you have your openings, take the openings, state the facts. This is what you did. State the facts. And now what do you want? You don't have to state the facts with threats. State the facts with this is what you did and this is what we want. Let your yes be yes and your no mean no. Because when you go in there in soprano and you're yelling, the brain, just like when somebody's yelling at you, the brain is trying to figure out what can I do? What do they want? What do they want? What do they want? So when you have that audience, say what it is and say what you want in conversational tones, not in accusatory tones. Because you're training them how to use their words, especially if you got a black male, any of your male children, any of your children, but especially when we're talking about our men, because a lot of our men do not know how to express themselves. Their words have been stifled and pushed down. And if we don't train our especially our young men how to talk without being talked over all the time, then we're going to have another generation that does not know how to express themselves. It's very important. This is not just about you. It's about them too. So this is Angela Alexander, Brown Angel Books and Coaching. And again, we are doing the Speak workshops live. And so if you'd like to get on our schedule, just send an email to brownangelbc@gmail.com. And if we're able to help you with doing this live, we can. Because in the 20-30 minutes that I have on Tuesdays, every Tuesday at noon, we can't cover it all. There's so much to do. It's a whole workshop on the whole acronym, the whole Speak acronym. So again, thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to share with a friend, like and share. And again, I am Angela Alexander, and I will see you next week. Blessings to you.